Welcome to Beyond the Surface. On our podcast, we highlight underrepresented voices in architecture. We'll humanize architects by uncovering who they are beyond the surface. Hi, I'm your host, Alex Sanchez, representing the Illinois Tech student chapter of the National Organization of Minority Architects. Today's episode is called Everywhere All at Once with our guest, Annabell Ren. Annabell Ren is a co-founder of the Chicago-based firm New Office. Annabell attended the Harvard Graduate School of Design, where she received her master's degree in architecture and urban design. She's an adjunct professor at the Illinois Institute of Technology, teaching architecture design studios. Annabell is now dedicated to bringing her passion for art and people into the design process. Thank you for being with us today. We know you because you're a professor at IIT, and we've been wanting to talk to you for a while now. So how are you feeling?
Thank you for having me. And I stopped teaching this semester, so I'm just happy to be back on campus.
Well, why don't we get started? So can you tell us about your background and how that influenced your identity?
Yeah, so I'm originally born in China, in a city called Chengdu. It's actually in the Midwest of China. And I'll say my experience before coming to the US is kind of interesting. I didn't plan to come to the US. I actually went through a journey of failure when I was going into the Chinese college, when I was in my teenager age. So going back to my childhood a little bit, I'm from Chengdu, and I kind of grew up being really good at school and then not. So I went to the best middle school, I went to the best high school in the city, which if you are Asian and you are Chinese, you know your childhood in Asia is mostly about study. There's nothing much anymore. So when I did my college exam last year on my high school, I actually did a pretty bad job. Like I failed my, the Chinese SAT. Again, if you're Chinese, you're Asian, you know how important that exam is. You get told that exam is the most important exam of your life, and you only get one try. I know in the US, you can take multiple try of your SATs, but in China, you build up your education experience from middle school, high school, kindergarten, elementary school, just for this one exam. And that exam decide where you go. To be fair, that exam also helped a lot of people who's from underserved community or families. They could use that one opportunity to, if I say, climb the social ladder. They could go to the best college if they are working hard, they are smart. So there's good and bad to this exam. I don't want to saying like it's purely evil, but for myself, I kind of failed that exam and I was devastated. I don't know what to do because that's not the plan, because I was good at school. And then my mom helped me at the time to make a plan B, which is actually not seeing Americans a plan B, but applying for American school to come to the US to study, which thinking back now is one of the best decisions I made. And that's when I came to IIT.
I think it's pretty funny that the US was your second option, but I do like how you said that it was the best decision you ever made, because if not, you wouldn't be here in front of us right now. So what got you interested in architecture?
I would say architecture is also my second choice. So I don't know how many people can relate to this, but I grew up very into art. I was spending a lot of my time painting, sketching. I love the feeling of just getting lots of time when I was painting. When I started painting, I don't have to eat. I don't have to drink water. I can just sit there for, honestly, days, like a full day from morning to dark to finish my piece. And I find that similar feeling now when I work in the wood shop. It's kind of just the hands-on, nothing matters experience. So if I had a choice, I would be an artist. I still want to be an artist to today. And at that time, when I was 19, I think I can only be one, which is either an architect or an artist. And I chose to be an architect because our Asian parents would not allow us to be an artist if you want to sleep on the street one day. So that was a decision of like, I can still do my artistic design while making some income, not be fully sleeping in my parents' basement one day. And now, if you ask me that question again, and I'll say you can be both. You don't have to just be one thing. If you find your passion in architecture, and then you also like, oh, there's all, like you guys, you're doing the podcast, or someone else is into business or graphic design, and then they are like, oh, I should quit architecture and do something else, or another degree in graduate school or something. And I think if I look back and tell myself, it's like, you can always do both, right? You think you only have the time for one thing. It's just about time planning, and then you can do multiple things that you're interested. So I wanted to be an architect the moment I realized I cannot be an artist, if that makes sense. Yeah.
I feel like many students can probably relate to that. A lot of people who do architecture come from an artistic background, and you can definitely see in the work of the students especially. So I think that what you're saying is very important for people to hear, that they can do both. It is possible, because a lot of times we're left with trying to create a choice, and I feel like that pushes us into a box that we don't want to be in, because we're artistic. We don't want to be in a box. We don't like boxes.
Right.
And I feel like that's just important for students to hear, or just anyone to hear, honestly.
I feel I didn't realize that until almost recent years. And I'm in my 30th. Like, I think when I was 20th, it's all about one thing or the other. I was living I still do in a lot of times, black and white mindset. It's either this, or it's either like life or death. You're going everything like full in, but now I'm starting to realize it's about the in-between. And it's a skill you have to go through that 20-year-old to able to have the skill of understanding how to go in between the white and black. It's hard.
So how would you say you were able to build that skill?
By talking to my therapist. I do have a therapist, and I'm not shy to mention it. I think it was one of the best decisions I made. Is almost like a friend now. I talk to her once a month, and I think it's just a way to list all your mind on the paper, and that's a way to help yourself. It's like psychological study. It's really just, if you have something in your mind, if you can make that thing into an object, then you help yourself understand it better. Like, if you're scared of something, and I'm going to ask you a question, what does that look like? Is it green? Is it red? Does it have a nose? Does it have an ear? Does it fly? So once you put your thoughts on the paper, that helped me a lot to understand where I was standing at the moment. And then slowly, I think that just built my experience of understanding how I feel as a person, where I am standing. And then I feel I can master myself. I can master my mind. I can control how I think better. And then that's the moment I feel I can go in between the black and white. I'm still not great at it, but I feel I realize that. And then when the moment I know, hey, this does not have to be black or white, I tell myself, this is a moment that you need to stay in the middle and find where that is.
That was very well said. I also do therapy, so I understand, like,
Yay!
trying to visualize everything. But I think it was pretty nice how you talked about how visualizing some of your fears could actually help you to be able to understand where the balance lies.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yes.
I think being able to find balance in some way, somehow in your life is very important.
Yeah, that's really well said.
So we've talked about some of the things that you've done now. Why don't we jump a little back? So when researching your background, we found that you were involved with the Red Cross after the earthquake in China in 2008. Can you talk about that experience?
Yes. And before jumping, I just want to thank the team to have me here, because I listened to your previous podcast. I'm happy to be the kind of representative of an immigrant who English is not my first language. I can talk about my experience in my childhood where it's not in the US. So I just want to thank you guys for recognizing that in me, and then able to bring the story to this show. So the earthquake happened in 2008. For the people who don't know about the earthquake, it's probably, one of the major earthquake happened in China, I don't know, in the past 50, 100 years. I think it was rated 8.0 as earthquake. Most earthquake is like 4.2, 3.1, and that was like 8.0. So I was in the city. There's not too much damage in my city because Chengdu is in a valley. So the earthquake actually shaked, almost ruined all the villages on the mountains surrounding. So it was a really tragic experience. And if you remember the Chinese SAT, I was just talking about, the earthquake happened a month before that exam. So now I have an excuse for why I failed that No. I remember the time the earthquake happened, so like your home is kind of ruined. The building didn't fall down, but all our furniture, the lights, all broken, like everything was ruined. So we couldn't go home. And so I remember studying in the car after the earthquake. I remember sleeping in the tent next to the river and studying in the tent by the river for like a month of time. For the volunteer experience, that happened when I finished the exam. So I finally like have this period of time. I remember I was like feeling relieved and I feel free. And I was waiting for the result to come back because you have like a month of time. You don't know how you did in that exam. And everyone kind of just like, this is a time to relax. And then I actually decided to join the Red Cross and then went to the mountain area, be a volunteer. And that was a teaching experience. That was one of my first teaching experience, is to kind of teaching in tents that's build temporary shelters in the mountains for the middle school and elementary school kids. Their school is ruined, so they don't have a place to go to school anymore. So the government kind of set up this temporary shelter environment for those kids, and then they were asking for volunteers to go help them. So that was my experience.
To me, that's just very shocking. And honestly, you were very young at the time, weren't you? You were still like in high school.
I was 18, yeah.
18?
Yeah.
Okay. And for it to be like your first teaching experience, how do you feel like the overall experience impacted you?
I think I always grew up being kind of critical of myself, if I'm being honest. I go through experiences and I always like, oh, how can I do better? So if I remember and thinking back, honestly, like it wasn't filled with the joy of, oh, I helped so many children, oh, I feel so good about myself. It was like, oh, I was so bad at teaching. Like I wish I could offer more to them. There's like volunteers that had more teaching experience than me because, yeah, I was 18, right? I was still a kid. And I don't know how to handle other kids. I want to help them, but I find I don't really have the skills to talk to them like adults, right? I think I was more like a friend than an adult to them. Like I was like playing with them and like teaching them. So I was so amazed by my other colleague volunteers, how relaxed and skillful and confident they were about teaching the kids. And they were not much older than me. They were like a year older than me. So I was like, oh, I should learn from them. That's what the kids needed. It's someone who, it's almost like they prefer you not as their friend, but they prefer you being a teacher, like adult, telling them, hey, let's do this, leading them. Like they almost needed someone at that time to like lead their visions, lead them activities of what they could do every day. And then I realized, oh, maybe it's not just about like, oh, let's go play this game. They have that. They have those kind of friends every day. But they needed someone who more like bring in a goal for them. So I think I just learned from that experience about how to teach younger generations.
Something you mentioned about them needing a goal, like a motivation.
Yeah.
I think that's very interesting because you're right. It isn't just the entertainment that will get you places. It's having, I guess, the urge to like keep going. Like, why are they here? Why do they keep living? Or what do they want in their futures? What do they see? That's very interesting.
Yeah, that's how I felt, after. It's like, exactly like you said, how you like concluded that it's the higher level of stuff, right? They live in the mountain area, and what can you bring them to tell them what's out there? And then there's so much out there. And then if there's one kid in that group, grab onto that, then I see myself success, right?
That's very well said. You mentioned you didn't originally plan on coming to the U.S. Can you expand on that and explain how you ended up making the move?
Yeah, so I failed that exam, and then I think my mom come up with this alternative plan. She's like, I can't let my daughter go to a mediocre college, So she's like, let's go to American. And at that time, it was when Obama was the president. So China and U.S. had a really good relationship for a period of time. So I remember when I was coming here, my friends, my colleague from China were all very excited about American. We were like, oh, this is the best country to be in the world. It's like a dream to send your kids to the U.S. to studying, to get the best education of the world. That's where my parents stand, right? So we were not that wealthy. So I think my mom just spent all her savings, tidied it up a little bit, and then like tell me like, oh, if I like broke, you just, go wash dishes in the restaurant. Like I'll pay for your first 2 years of tuition, and then you figure out the rest. That kind of situation. So I had a lot of hope coming here. A new country. I feel like I could be a new person after I failed. It's like a new start for me. No one knows who I am here. So it's like I just went through that failure, a huge failure of like most important study. Or your classmate, teacher were kind of like disappointed at you. They probably not, but you feel that at yourself. But then coming here is like, no one cares about that exam. No one knows what you went through. My Chinese name is Ren Dai, and I come here, I have an American name. And I speak English, I speak a different language. And then if you speak 2 languages, if you are immigrant, you know this. Once you speak a different language, you become another person. And that's the truth. You almost have a different personality when you speak your home language and your second language. And then when I started speaking English, I didn't have the baggage on me as like a kid, if you understand that. I started from when I was 19 years old. That's when I started becoming this English person. So I could redefine myself how I want.
I think what you said about feeling like a new person after you move, I think a lot of people might understand that a lot more. I like how you put it because you talked about languages, different country, different culture. So I know it's like very different, but even when I came to Chicago, well, my name is Alexis, but I go by Alex. So
And that was the decision when you went to like college.
Yeah.
And why did you do that?
I think I did it because I feel like I wanted like a fresh start on everything.
Yes.
So
yes.
I guess in a way I can relate because you also came here and also had to go by a new name.
Right.
So it was like a whole new person. But I feel like a lot of students, the minute they get to college, it's almost like everything who they were before.
In the past.
Yeah, everything who they were
before.
It's
a new start for them. Without parents, without childhood, whatever happened.
Becoming responsible,
Right.
learning how to become an adult.
Right.
It's almost like you go from knowing everything because you're the oldest in your school to knowing like absolutely nothing and you're back on the bottom again.
Mm-hmm. yes, exactly.
And it takes a while to understand where you are and who you are, and it just becomes this long life journey.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, that's definitely on yourself. Figuring
Yes.
out everything on yourself for the first time.
Yeah.
And which is, I think, the best feeling ever for myself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like there's so much out there, so you want to go experience everything all at once. But at the same time, it can be very, very scary because it almost feels like one wrong move and you can make a mistake. But going back to your educational journey, can we talk about your educational experience and how that influenced you to pursue graduate school for architecture and urban design?
Yes. So I remember the last year at IIT, I took urbanism studio and the urbanism class. And then I think after that experience, the urbanism class was also the starting of like critical thinkings. if I see my students, like everyone's very supportive of each other, in like reviews. And then that class taught me it's okay to be critical for others. It's not bad things. You're telling the other person. It's like you respect each other. So you are talking at this high level of purely rational comments about each other's project in the world. So I remember just thinking it's not enough to just understand how the building built without understanding the surrounding context. And I know nothing about it. So I was like, how do I become a really good architect in the future if I don't know how to design with a city? So it's also, be honest, like in the Asian culture, you are encouraged to go to the graduate school. So I think a lot of my international friends at that time pursue the graduate degree right away after college. I know now it's different with American culture. It's like you go through college and that's about it. Not many people go through graduate school, or you go through college, you study or you work a couple more years, and then you decide if you want to go back to graduate school. If I do it again, would I go to school right away? I don't think so. I think at that time, I just thought that was a default option. I wish I had the opportunity to work first. Then you'll realize what really matters to you. Because education is very expensive for graduate schools. For that much money, you better get what you want. So, yeah.
And during your college journey, did you have any mentors or motivators who were constantly helping you make these decisions or just understand what you liked about architecture?
I do have mentors in my life, and I'll talk about this person later. But in my college, honestly, I didn't really have a mentor. I think I had friends. I had professors I really admired. Like I feel really connected in studios. I still have coffee and brunch or breakfast with them to today. But I feel like it was my partner, Steven. I met him the first day I arrived in IIT. And we were in the same studio, and then he became my first partner. Like I literally pointed at him and asked him to be my studio partner when I don't know him. He's claiming it's just because he's Asian. The only Asian in the studio. But he kind of not hand-holding me, but he just helped me. He's so strict. I would let me just not do this homework for the class tomorrow. And he would, can you share a little bit with me? You're American, you know this, how to figure out the structural mechanical stuff better than me. And he wouldn't. He would just watch me struggle and not tell me the answer, and then be like, I'll tell you the answer when you figure out yourself. But I think there wasn't a person, I think when I started here, that went through the past, like an older Chinese classmate or international classmate I got to know. There wasn't this role model of telling me where I could go. I think I was just figuring out step by step by myself with my friends. I have a lot of friends, not just Steven, but I made through the 5 years, like you guys. I still hang out with my IIT undergrad friend who's still in Chicago. And they became the lifelong friend I had. And they supported me step by step to figure out how to kind of live in American with an international background.
I think that helps to make you not feel as alone. You created a community with your friends. Even though you didn't have any mentors in college, at least, it still gave you somewhere where you could belong. And I feel like that's also a big motivator when you're young and trying to figure out your life, just having a community of people to be around you so that you could all mentor each other in a way. So we noticed that most of your firm partners are from college. You guys all went to school together. What made you guys want to start a firm, and did you always plan on starting it all together?
So my partners, when I started the firm about 3-4 years ago, me, my husband Steven, and then Elliot was his childhood friend. They actually grew up together since kindergarten. So it's not just IIT friendship, it's lifelong. How the saying of don't go in business with your friend, and I'm proving you wrong. and they are still really good friends now. So we started the firm in the start of the COVID. Now it's like 5 years ago. We started about 4 years ago. At that time, me and my partners were all working in like bigger, more cooperative offices where we learned mostly of our skill from. And then to the day, I'm still grateful for that experience. But I think we just feel like we want to create a new type of architecture firms that could resonate to our experience working under people before, that we feel like the industry is missing a bit. Like, what's the next generation of architecture firm? What could that be? And I think to myself, I'm always interested in that. This is a time to start creating the next generation of architecture firm. And let's give a try. What's there to lose? If we fail, that's not the end of the life. You can still go find a job. Again, there's no life and death. So I feel at that time, we were just, let's give it a try. If we fail, we can always find a plan B. So my partner, Steven, he's very interested in creating a new office culture that's not out there. I think we're still working on that, but that's our goal, is how our industry talk about the long hours. How can we not do that? Our industry always have low pace. How can we do better about that? It's a business. It's not about passion. This is your passion, but it's not your employees' passion. So they just want to be there, make good money so they can do the things they want. They deserve to feed their families. So how do we pay them well to make their time worthy, right? That's another thing. And how do we challenging the after hours and the Monday deadlines? There's always the Friday deadline and move to Monday, so you work in the weekend. Like, how do we not do that? So it's about how we can manage the business better so it gets more profit for our employees so they can stay longer. At the end of the day, it's good for everyone. So I think that was one of the major interests we had when we starting the firm, is like how to build a better, more efficient, and then a really important goal for us is like, how do we make best quality of work? And that's not maybe the best design out there, if you understand what I'm saying, is it's quality work, right? And then it's what the clients wanted. Because if you go to the steep hole of like, I'm gonna generate 10 designs when the client asks for one, whose time are you using? It's your employees' time. Are you paying them for the time? Is a client paying you for those designs? And then you can pay them for this time, right? So I think we want to find that balance of what's the next generation of architecture firm out there.
I like that you talked about the next generation of architects. And I feel like that's something that we're always thinking about, what does the future of architecture look like? So building on that, where did the term new office come from?
Okay, great question. Yeah, I think for us, it's always about the next step. It's in the office culture, how you run an office, but it's also in the design project itself. Our slogan is kind of like find the new answers for new questions. That's our slogan of the new office. We don't settle for the traditional answers for the questions. We're trying to find always what's out there that is the best solution to this unique questions at the moment of the time that's being not used before or done before. So that was when we created the office name, that was kind of the goal at that time.
So I am familiar with some of your guys' work. I feel like it's very cultural, and I feel like that's hard to define when it comes to design. I feel like sometimes when people design cultural spaces, it includes a lot of murals and like blank spaces. And I love art, but I feel like something that piqued my interest with your guys' architecture is you guys bring more cultural aspects without just having murals, without just having artwork. And how do you guys do it?
That is such a good question. Like, yeah, it's the mural, we've seen that a lot. That's mostly because the budget of the projects, right? That's the most affordable way to make a huge impact of a huge space. I think for us, there's two steps when we work, and that's coming from a lot of reasons. We work with this partner. She actually used to be my partner's professor in IIT, so also another IIT alumni. And then we collaborate with her a lot. So a lot of community project came with her initially. And her name is Lindsay Thoreau. Just give Lindsay a shout out there. So the two steps of our community related project is, the first one is to listen. Don't go in with a predetermined mindset of the style. Even though I feel our project does end up with some architectural languages, but we don't go in with any of them, because you wanted to build that trust with the community member of, oh, hey, we are here for you. Like, we want to build that almost trust and friendship first. We really care about your community because you are spending like your lifelong saving. We're working with this Roseland Community Center right now just for the initial part, but it's like, that's their lifelong saving from their parents. And they want to use this on renovating their school into like community center. So it's not about my dream, about what this piece should turn into. I'll feel so bad if this become my project. It's about whatever they want to do. So I think we listen for a really long period of time, and then we did help the client, because a lot of times they don't know what they want. They kind of talk about things, but they don't know how to put that into visualizations. They talk about function most of the times. They want us to use as a space for art, space for free speech, space for community organization, talkings, workshops. But none of that language is really visualized as like materials, colors, and lightings, ventilations, and those things. So after we listen to them, and then we do challenge them. I think that's maybe the difference you see is we come in with a lot of things they don't talk about that we think will be a really good match, like natural materials that represent their culture, or colors. It's less about maybe paint colors, but more about architecture materials that really align with their visions that they don't know that exist out there, but we do. So we bring all of those options, help our client understand what could be out there that fits into their vision. And then together with that two steps, our hope is to create something, elevate their original goal, a result they didn't know they could end up with.
Do you think when you challenge the client, you do it so they can understand what they really envision for the project other than the program?
Yes, I think it's about how you do it. If the client don't want me to challenge them, I won't challenge. It's at the end of the day, it's always about what the client want and what they're comfortable with. But I sometimes sneak in. They might just show you some examples of building they see on the street, or a photo they took of another building in the city. But I think you can always sneak in some of the president's images of what you think really out there could align with this project. But it's not about what I want, because you have to wait for them to be excited. Like, you have to wait for them to be like, oh, what is that? You have to be like, oh, what's that image? I like that. Can you talk about that more? I'm not going to be like, hey, look at this. Like, this is so much better. I feel it's maybe my own personal thing. I don't feel that's my place to be. I want to offer enough options. And if they get excited about some of the options, then we can pursue that direction. But it's not my decision. It has to be their decision.
So you're like guiding the client so you can understand them better.
Yeah, it's almost like it's never my decision. It has to be always come from the client, but I just guide their visions by providing things they couldn't come up with themselves.
Okay. So how do you apply the design elements to projects like the Sukkah or the African Heritage Hub?
So for Sukkah, we had a lot of workshops with a community member we worked with. And in the workshops, we printed president images for them to lay on the table for them to look at, and then they'll pick the ones they resonate the most to. And then we understand what kind of direction and styles they want. And then we also have card of like diagrams print it out. Not like the finished sukkah, but it's like, how do you want to walk through this experience? Do you want anything to sit on? Do you want it to be open? Do you want it to be closed? Do you want it to be colorful? Do you want it to be not colorful? Do you want to have any printed graphic to show the history? Like a menu. They are opening like a graphic menu and they'll tell you, oh, I like this, I like that, I like that. That's for sukkah. We actually I love the fact you guys know the name of our projects. And African Heritage Hut and sukkah is like the smaller scale of community project we have. We actually have some much larger community project in the city, mostly in West Garfield Park, but you are not seeing the photo yet because it's in construction. But we already finished the pre-design with the community. And for those projects, larger projects, as a comparison to the smaller project that you just talked about, we have workshop days with the residents, and there's the school project. We have workshop with the students, the children, and the teachers. We print all the inspiration images and paint it up like a huge foam board. And we'll have 5-10 of them all pinned up on the room. And each one of them, we have stickers given to them, and then each color represent, I love it, I hate it, I'm okay with it. And then everyone have a say that way in that room. Freedom of like, it's anonymous, so they don't have to feel like they have to say something. And that we get a really honest feedback about what the community really wants.
The community was very involved in that project, and I feel like that makes it feel more intimate. They feel like they're part of the project. I know you mentioned that you do more like community projects, but I guess I didn't fully realize that having the actual community engage with the design process, I thought it was more client-based. Right. And I think that's important because I feel like you guys have an understanding of who's using the space and just how much influence and how important these spaces are for people.
Right. And if I'm being honest, I feel I'm still on the journey to learn about that. There's a lot of community involvement in the beginning of the design, and then to kind of resonate your thoughts about murals. Like we have murals on our project too. And it's because somehow that's what the people react the most. I think for us architecture students, we might prefer the culture translated into a sudden way, right? Like into a material, like the orange you are seeing right now, right? That is like what resonates to us as a design language. But throughout the years, I feel the community members, they don't relate to that. Like a perforated panel of some information, that doesn't resonate to them as much as a mural on the wall. They see the color, they see if a mural of the neighborhood, like in Chinatown, there is a mural of the Chinese or East Asian children on the mural, right? They resonate to that the most. In West Garfield Park, we have design, in the Wellness Center, we have a African-American children, like a huge mural of that. Like that's the future of their generation, because West Garfield Park is such a home to so many like families have generations living there in the past, and they wanted their kids to success. That's why the project exists as a wellness center, because it's a physical wellness center and a mental health wellness center for that neighborhood. So they still resonate to that the most. So I'm still trying to find the balance of what the public like. I don't want to be an architect who designs something only I enjoys or my colleague enjoys or my architecture student likes, right? I wanted the general public to feel this is speaking to them. So I think a lot of projects have mural because of that. And I'm trying to understand or study or research about any other solution like that, really resonate to the people themselves and also can be translated into architectural language.
I'm glad we were able to talk about your firm and some of the projects you guys have done. But I do want to start talking about your teaching career, because I know you also do that as well as all this other stuff you do. So can you talk about how you started teaching in college? Because I know you have some experience at the Red Cross.
Yes. So that comes in the mentorship that we kind of started talking about. Is I started teaching at IIT because I remember I went to GSD, so I worked at the East Coast for many years. And then me and my husband moved back to Chicago because we want to be closer to one side of the family. Like my family are still all in China right now, and his family is here in Illinois. You know how IIT have those lectures Wednesday night? I always go to those lectures. And that's, I feel something like a tip for students out there is like, show up. If you want to grow, if you want to make connections, just show up. Go to things. So me and my husband always attend every lectures we could. And then I just remember ran into Mike Glenn. He's a current professor in IIT. He teaches the second year. He was not my professor. I have graduated so many years, I can't recognize any person in Krong anymore. He's the only person I recognized, and I don't know him at all, but I was like, okay, I'm going to go talk to him. And then I don't know what I'm going to say, but I'm just going to say hello. I'm new back to the city. I want to make connections to the city again. So I just went to say hi to him and introduce myself, how I moved back. And then later on, when I get to know Mike, he has become kind of the mentor of my teaching because he introduced me to Jim Park, who was the director of the second year, and then Frank, and then Reed, Eva, and everyone in the school. He's like the gay person, opened so many doors for me in the school and helped me. I think I'm here today also. I don't know how you guys know me. Somehow I feel like it's because of him, honestly. And then that's, I think, how I started teaching is he offered me that opportunity. Jen Park, Frank, and him asked me to come and teach in the second year. So that's how I started teaching. And for myself, the reason why I said yes to that, because that was an offer, and then you have to decide if you want to do it or not, right? Because it takes a lot of your time. Like teaching is 3 afternoons. I thought all the professors just taught. I don't know how you guys think. You probably know the works, but as a student, I was like, how do they work and work? But that's the reality. Like you have to work and then you have to teach. But that's a lot of time. So I decided to take on that mission because I feel I lack the skill public speaking as a English as a second language person. You know, as an immigrant, I afraid to speak up in the crowd. I get nervous speaking up in a meeting when I was working. You know, I still do it, but I know I lack that skill. So I kind of want to push myself to get comfortable and gain confidence of how to work with people I don't know, how to work with students that I think I have a lot to share with them, but at that time I'm like, don't know how. So I think that I'm always trying to take challenge for myself through the years. And I'm glad I did it, but looking back, honestly, that was the reason why I started doing it.
How do you feel like you're able to share your design philosophy with some students?
I think when I'm teaching, what I'm afraid the most is in final review, everyone have the same project. That's my philosophy. Is similar to the client. I'm there for them. They are not there for me. I know there's studios that's like led by a really well-established architect, and they have a style, and the studio, drawings, result look certain way. And for me, that's not what I want. Like if I can encourage or spark one student, it's kind of like my earthquake experience. If I can spark one person out of 14, I love to do more, then I think I did my job. I'm there to support them to explore whatever they want to do. Design should never be a certain way. Even though we think there's a certain way to do things these days, how you know that's the way for the future, right? If you want to be so abstract, people think you're doing crazy things. I still, guide them like, what's your reason? Even though you're doing really rash, like crazy things, I think that's my bottom line. I still ask them why. I ask my students so many times. I think they get annoyed by me. It's like, why are you doing this? And that's all I ask is, why are you doing it? And a lot of time my students don't know why, if I'm being honest. But that's the process of learning is you just go create and then you find out why through the process.
I think the why is important too, like to know why you design. And that's why I feel like we usually ask our guests a similar question about like their design philosophy, because I think that's what motivates people a lot more. Just why are you here? Why do you design? What are your goals? Which is like what we talked about when it came to like the Red Cross. understanding the motivation in their career and their motivation in life, but also even in something as simple as a project, a studio project, understanding why are they making certain changes. It makes them ask deeper questions about themselves.
Right.
So we know you're also involved with the Chinese American Service League. Can you talk about the organization and your involvement?
Yes. So CASO is a service league located in Chinatown. It's actually, you know how everyone go like get bubbles, get restaurant dim sum. There's like a street, and it's actually located just a block behind it, and it's in a hidden residential neighborhood. They support local seniors and children as a nonprofit. So their senior programs is they offer free breakfast, free lunch for the local senior people. They have bus every morning to pick up the elderlies in the neighborhood. It's not just Chinatown, but it's like Chinatown, Bridgeport, Pilsen, Bronxville. If you're in a certain zone, and then they drive you to the building, they offer you breakfast, and then they offer you free lunch, and then you can play machan, you can play cards, you can do paintings, you can do knitting there all day, and they send you home. And they have other programs, like this is just an example, and they have daycare schools, and it depends on how much income you make. Like you don't make anything, then you don't pay, that kind of thing, right? So I didn't know they existed. I was introduced by Ernie Wan to the organization, actually. I just really want to be a part of the Asian community. I find myself, my background really resonated to helping the East Asian. It's not just for Chinese, it's for Koreans, Japanese, Chinese, and Hispanic, African American. They serve any kind of racial backgrounds as long as you live in certain distance to their organization. And what I do is, my job is kind of just to connect them with the rest of the city. I don't think many people knows the organization existed. It's actually in a building designed by Jeannie Gan, Studio Gan. It's one of her first designs in Chicago. So you want to be a part of it, you want to volunteer. I would be, dying to help you to get to know them better. And yeah.
I didn't know that there was an organization like that here. And I'm glad you're involved. I feel like there's a big, vibrant community in Chicago in general. Like every single neighborhood has their communities. And I like how the Chinese American Service League is very open to everybody around their community, because all the neighborhoods essentially do blend together. And I also think that it's just important to have a community organization. It's important to give back. And I feel like that's a very good way to give back, honestly. So we're going to start wrapping up the episode. And we have a few more questions to ask you. And the first question is, what advice would you give to someone who wants to make a positive impact with design?
Whoa. Tough question. I know it sounds cheesy, but I really think it's just about keep doing it. Follow your heart. I don't think there is a formula of how anyone can follow to do good design to help the world. If you feel you want to do good design to help the world right now, you will do it. Even though you're 18, 19, 21, whatever, it's about that fire in your heart, right? I really believe it's about what you want to do. And then if you keep going that direction, everyone's route is different, but you will get there somehow. Maybe you'll get there when you're 25. Maybe you'll get there when you're 30. You might get there when you're 50. But I think some students are like, I have to start my own firm to do it. Or I have to quit my job to do it. And maybe that's how I feel when I was in 20-something, or when I started the firm. And you could do it, right? I'm not saying you don't start your own firm. Like, I'm encouraging anyone who want to try it, go ahead. And then you might fail, you might do it, but you never know if you don't try it. But that's not the only way. You could work in a really good offices and then volunteer on your weekend and nights, right? You could be a part of organizations like you guys that are trying to have meaningful conversation. Everyone find different ways, and you only know what that is for yourself. If you try to copy another person's way, you won't be able to do it for long. You do it for a couple months, couple years, but you'll find that's not exciting for you anymore, right? So I think that's my advice, is you have to know if that's what you want. And that's okay if that's not what your heart is. You don't have to use design to help, it sounds bad, community, but everyone's different, right? You can use design to do something else. I don't think we have to shame people who doesn't. They can use design to help offices to have a better product. What's wrong with that? That's their passion, right? To the next cool product, and that's to themselves. So you should ask yourself, is that really what you want? Or that's just because everyone else is doing it, so you feel like you have to do it, right? And then if you feel like really that's what you want, then I think you'll find a way to do it.
I think that's very good advice because I think it's important to experiment and to try things. And life is also more interesting if you're just experimenting. So,
Yeah. And I'll say it's about the process. And you probably heard about this. It's not about the result, it's about the process. And I just recently understand what that means. Because if it's about the result, like if you want to start something and you want to be famous for that, right? You want to get like viral for that. And then when you get that result, if you go viral or if you become famous because you did something, you feel good for a day and it's gone. And then the second day you'll be like, what's next? And then if that's the only time you're happy is when the result comes, and that's not that many happy days in your life because you might have to spend 5 years to get viral. Then it's painful for that 5 years and to get 1 day of happiness, right? So it's really about the process, like asking yourself if you are happy right now doing what you're doing right now, because you have to do that tomorrow and the day after tomorrow and the next month. If you're happy right now, then you'll be happy for a long time. And when the result comes, it's not about that, because I enjoy what I do every day and I'm happier for longer. So that's what I mean by it's about the process, not the result.
that's a very good quote. Yeah. So, like, enjoying the process and it's not about the result.
Right.
So, to wrap up the episode, I have one more question. What are your future plans and goals?
I think I want to have a happy life with my family, with my husband. I have a 2-year-old right now. That's my first goal, is for that. And then it comes in career and work. Is we want to keep growing our office to remember where we started of having the next generation of architecture firm. It sounds so big and bold, but if that's our goal, we'll try keep going that direction. And I think I'm here to speak for the Asian immigrants, the international students, where I don't think I hear a lot of representative in the society, the world. There's a lot of American Chinese, American Asians, but I'm not American. I'm an international person. I'm an immigrant. It's like a lot of my friends, I'm their parents, like their parents are the first generation. I'm the first generation right now. But I come to the US with much difference with the last generation of immigrant. And they come here for workforce, right? They help build the American society. But there's so many new immigrants coming for educations in the state. And there is struggles for us, like Asian community are rated as the model generation, the model workers in a lot of companies, because they put down their head and then they work. They don't speak up. They hope they can be seen just by their work. And that's not how US function. You have to go out there, you have to fight for yourself, you have to speak for yourself. You can't be quiet, right? And that's just a different mindset. And how would you know if you come from a society that play the game differently, right? So I want to help them being seen. I want to help people getting promoted. I want to see the Asians being promoted into principals, directors, not just senior architect or something, right, in offices. So I don't know how I'm going to get there, but if there is any way I can speak up for this group, I can help this group, I will be really happy to do that.
I'm very glad you were on this podcast. I feel like I learned a lot. And I think that a lot of things you do are really cool and very important, especially for the Asian community. Owning a firm, and I know we didn't talk about it enough, but even being able to own a firm while not being licensed, that's very impressive. And the things you do with the community, with students, the way you design these spaces that people feel like they belong. I feel like I really enjoyed learning about you. So I'm glad that we were able to have this conversation. So thank you.
Likewise. Thank you guys so much.
I want to thank everyone who's listening. We release our episodes monthly. You can find us on your favorite podcast platform. You can also follow us on Instagram at beyondthesurface_Nomas IIT. I want to thank our producer, Kayla Kwok, and the Nomas IIT team for making this podcast possible. Thank you for listening to this episode of Beyond the Surface featuring Annabell Ren. Until next time, goodbye.